Hello everyone, my name is Ziting Cao and this is a pre-recorded video presentation for my research paper, Changes in and Influence of Intrinsic Motivation and Foreign Language Anxiety on English Speaking of English Major Freshmen in China. I just divided my presentation into 5 parts. Firstly, the introduction and research questions will be introduced. And after that, I will introduce the research design and the key findings. Then, conclusion and implications will also be introduced. So firstly, let's focus on the introduction part. So in the introduction part, after I read about the previous studies about affective factors, about the foreign language anxiety, and about intrinsic motivation, I found that these two affective factors are of great importance in the foreign language learning. And affective factors is of great importance influencing foreign language learning. Besides, the affective factors like foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation are dynamic. That is to say, they are changing during the learning process. After that, I found the affective factors can influence on each other. Some research, for example, have proved that the self-confidence can help students to reduce their learning anxiety. And if students have higher learning anxiety, they may have higher confidence, they may have lower confidence and lower self-efficacy. And for this research, the reason why I choose to explore the foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation of English major students is because field research aimed at exploring these two affective factors of English major students in China. And for English major students, as we all know, students can choose their major in the tertiary education. In China, after students finished the compulsory educational period, after the students finish the college entrance examination, they can choose major on their own mind. So for English majors, they choose to be English major. So whether their foreign language anxiety level is lower or whether their motivation of learning speaking English is intrinsic are worth to explore. And for my research paper, here are 3 research questions. Firstly, what are the influence of foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation on the speaking English learning of English major freshmen? Secondly, what is the relationship between foreign language anxiety and the intrinsic motivation of English major freshmen? Thirdly, what are the changes of foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation before and after the learning of English-speaking courses of English major freshmen? And next, this part is about the research design. So from the figure, we can see clearly that since the foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation are dynamic, and most of the research on the affective factors in foreign language learning is one-time research. They may have they may do questionnaires only one time during among students. So for my research, in order to test the dynamic and the changing of the foreign language anxiety and the intrinsic motivation, in both phase 1 and phase 2, students have to take part in a speaking English test and have to answer questionnaires about foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation. Phase 1 is before a 10 weeks English speaking course, and phase 2 is after a 10 weeks English speaking course. So this research is quantitative descriptive research. And we can say that the participants is 210 English major freshmen from 2 ordinary universities in China. And the data will be analyzed by using SPACE. For the research instrument, I think this is very important in the research design. As we all know, this research used questionnaires, and I just developed a new questionnaires to to test students' foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation. So for this questionnaire, I just selected and modified questions or statements from the foreign language classroom anxiety and English motivation skill. I also did a test to test the reliability and validity of my questionnaire, and the data is here, and we can say that the foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation skills are of good structural validity and reliability. So next is my finding. For the key findings, I think here are 5 points. So firstly, for foreign language skill, compare with the mean value in phase 1, the mean value in phase 2 was reduced, which indicating that students' foreign language anxiety decreased significantly after learning the English speaking course. And secondly, for the intrinsic motivation skill, the mean value increased in phase 2, indicating that students' intrinsic motivation has improved significantly after learning the course. And thirdly, a significant negative correlation was shown between foreign language anxiety and English speaking grades, both in phase 1 and phase 2. Firstly, we can say that a significant positive correlation was shown between intrinsic motivation and English speaking grades. That is to say, the intrinsic motivation have positive influence on students' speaking English learning. And finally, in both phase 1 and phase 2, there was a negative correlation between foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation. So this means that the decrease of students' foreign language anxiety could help to improve their intrinsic motivation, and their increase of the intrinsic motivation could help students to decrease their foreign language anxiety. Finally, this is the conclusion and implication part. So for the conclusion, I think 4 main conclusions are conclude. Firstly, for English major freshmen, although they choose the major on their own mind, foreign language anxiety still exists in their speaking English learning. The motivation of learning the speaking English at the beginning of them is not intrinsic. Secondly, the foreign language anxiety is of negative influence on speaking English learning outcome, and the intrinsic motivation is of positive influence on the speaking English learning outcome. Thirdly, students' foreign language anxiety and intrinsic motivation can be changed through courses. That is to say, these two affective factors, they are dynamic, and students, as we have already introduced that, the students' foreign language anxiety decreased in phase 2, and students' intrinsic motivation level increased in phase 2. And firstly, the foreign language anxiety and the intrinsic motivation are negatively related with each other. So I think these conclusions can give some implications for teachers and educators in the foreign language teaching field. I think for the teachers, they should have the awareness that the affective factors are of importance. We can use some pedagogy and teaching methods to help students to promote their positive affective factors like intrinsic motivation, and help them to reduce some negative affective factors like the foreign language anxiety in the teaching process. So I think most importantly for teachers, we have to take the awareness that the affective factors like the foreign language learning anxiety, like the intrinsic motivation, they are of great importance, and we should pay attention to students' affective factors and to take efforts like adapting pedagogy or teaching methods to help them to promote their positive to promote their positive affective factors to help them improve their learning efficiency of the foreign language. Okay, that's all for my presentation for the research. Thank you for watching.